All right, we're live allegedly on 420 TV, and I have a guest here. Who is it? You guys all know who it is. It's Anja Tech from the Anja Tech channel. I hope you guys are subscribed to her as well. How's it going, Anja?
It's going good. Hi, everyone. It's going awesome.
And tonight we're going to talk about the Vril and some occult stuff and all the weird stuff that happened in between World War I and World War, if I could talk right, World War II. And the little secret groups and stuff, and we both did our own homework, so we got different things that we tripped down. But I thought I would go ahead and let you start, and I'll work off of you.
Okay, yeah, the Vril. I mean, it's a deep subject, especially the Vril Society and the Tool Society. And actually, what I wanted to bring on, like to go a little back further. Sorry, I made like 10,000 notes because it's like impossible to remember everything. Actually, if you go back to the 1600 centuries when people were farmers and they slaved brave and, you know, were good little slaves for the elite's field.
Yeah.
Someone decided it's maybe, you know, we should help them a bit, and we start building machines. So it's actually started with socks. Like that was like the first machine where he wanted to make it easier for people. You
mean socks like on your feet?
William Lee, he came up with his first knitting machine for socks, but Queen Elizabeth, she decided no, because that would not be good. People would have it too easy, you know, to say it like that.
Yeah.
So, and with that machine, everything started going. It sounds maybe ridiculous, but that's how it started. And people started working more and more machines were built in different directions. So that was a perfect time to bring in the occult to make people believe in something.
You think that has anything to do with, you know, like the little power charge that you get when you rub your socks against the carpet and you go around and then you can just shock
people? When you can't touch anything and you just get wet.
Right. The sock power. You know, they were tapping into that. But what's cool about the Vril, though, right, is that they're just one of many people all the way back thousands of years that believe in this intangible energy that you could tap into and use in the physical world, from information to actually doing things to other people, including like assassination, making people sick, or doing good things like healing. Like
absolutely,
he's not there. Really famous people all believed in the same thing. And what's weird about it is the only ones that ever made something out of it, people like Tesla, are people that went into deep meditations. Now, there was a lot of people that hated them, like Edison, who wasn't very spiritual, but spent his whole life trying to make a machine to figure out how to tap into it instead of being able to do it with your own quantum computer yourself, which seems to be the only way people have ever tapped into this energy, was with their body and meditation.
Yeah, but this is because Tesla understood, right, where it's coming from, and that we carry that actually in us. I mean, we're all made out of the same energy. So, I mean, here we are. So why can't you make something else out of it?
Yeah. Well, even
you can heal, and you can make people, and you can make people sick. And I'm strongly convinced that we can change our DNA back again, too. Once you know how to control it through meditation. Breathing is very important, which most people forget, because you inhale that energy, actually, literally.
I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's like even the Grand Masonic Lodge truly believes in a power. And it was quoted by Albert Pike that there's a energy field, a force out there so powerful that if a man could control that energy, he could change the entire course of the world. And if World War II is not an example of people that believe in that idea changing the course of the entire world, I don't know what is.
Yeah, that is a proof, unfortunately, but it also proves that you shouldn't use stuff like that for the disadvantage of people.
Well,
I
I
mean,
think there's two different sides of that. There's people that want to use the energy, like I said, for healing and positive things. And then there's the other people that want to trap it and steal it and use it for destruction and darkness.
which
And
is happening actually on this planet.
yeah. So let's go ahead and get into the Vril, where it came from, where you were talking about in the 1600s. It all started with socks.
Yeah, this is when the whole machinery was brought in. That was just an example, right? So, yeah. So people stopped doing things by hand. And of course, they needed people to, shit, my English is gone. The machines needed operators. That was the word. Yeah. So they needed people to operate. And of course, we all know how that is. If you do the same stuff again and again, you just get monotone, right?
Yeah.
And so people started getting unhappy. And that, I believe, was the time when they were like, okay, let's bring in the occult, give them something to believe in. Which, I mean, the church tried it before, many, many centuries before, right? To take it away from people and give them something to believe that they want them to believe in. But now this was brought through to another level with occultism, with Kabbalah, which is all the same real energy for me.
Yeah.
It's just different symbols, different spells, but it all goes back to the source.
Yeah. If you ever listen to the Chinese that describe chi and the Hindu describe their version of it, it's all the same concept.
It is the same as the name Vril, and I like to use Vril. First of all, it's coming from where I come, and I have no problem with it. And I want to get people away from the negativity of it, because people hear Vril, Nazi, right? And it has nothing to do with it. It just comes from the word virilis, which means powerful.
Yeah.
And this is in regards to this energy, not to the Nazis. And that's why I'm using it, and I will use the word until the last day.
And we'll get into in a minute how it got hijacked. The Vril concept got hijacked by what people call a fictional book, but it's when you get into it, it's really trippy, and it'll make some connections in real life, and I'll point those out later. But like you said, let's bring us through the ages, Anja.
I bring you through the ages. So I don't know if you're familiar with Friedrich Nietzsche. He wrote poems. So
Yes and no, but yeah.
In 1988, I had to translate that. I hope I translated right. He wrote something, and it wasn't even really known everything. So he emphasized the idea of the Superman, of the higher being, right? And he began his work in his book, The Antichrist, in 1988 with the lines. So let's face each other. We are Hyperborea. And he never even knew about, or he never used the word Vril. He emphasized the role of an inner force in the development of the superhuman. So the will to power, he published that in his estate. He wrote that ordinary people strive for safety in the flock through the creation of morality and rules, while the Superman possesses a vital force that urges them to go beyond the flock. Flock, you know, the herd. Do I say that right?
Yeah.
The force compels...
Flock you too.
Okay. The force compels them to lie to the herd in order to be independent and free from herd mentality. So, and I think this is pretty much where we all in here, right? Our sheeples.
Yep.
And
the masses, the peasants, and think about that. If you can get all of them to concentrate on a specific thing, like say, I'll just pick something random, like in the United States right now, all you hear about anywhere you go is the impeachment, the impeachment, the impeachment. Now that's just an example, whether you like it or don't like it, whatever. But the example is that the controllers can make millions of people all think about the same thing at the same time, and they do it with other things. And I believe that the reason that they do that, and they use these occult numeric dates, times, and subjects, is because they're trying to focus your energy on what they want to have power with.
What it is. they take you away from you know, what you could create, something nice, putting your thought, your energy in really something nice, in green fields, in trees, just as an example. Right. No, they don't want that. And that's why they're so, after us, the dog scratching at the door, like General Disrepair would say, the guy I know from YouTube. So, the dogs go back to the sheeples, right?
Yeah.
Try to put them back. But I mean, even Tesla wanted this information free for people, right?
That's right. That's what his whole unified field theory was about, giving people free energy from ideas that he got from what he called as the center of the field there somewhere. He said he never actually penetrated it, though, but he knew it was possible. He just got ideas. And you got to remember, he invented so many things. And I mean, when I say so many things, I mean almost everything that you look at today, he had some part in inventing it, from fluorescent light bulbs to radio to just everything. And he made so many patents. He never actually got to publish his unified field theory, though, because he was murdered.
Yeah. I'm
sorry. He died.
He died.
When the FBI raided him in room 3327. And we all know 27 is 3 times 9, or 3 times 3 times 3. So the room was 33.333 to infinity. Now think about that from a guy that was Tesla.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and he knew it's free. I mean, it is free. It is out there, right? And I'm thinking, with everything they do and what's going on, they're kind of separating us from that source with spraying the skies, making it dark, making us more bleh. Covering the sun.
Not only that, I read in the 420 news the other day that scientists are pushing for the concept that we need to build a shield around the Earth, to protect us from. I think I'm getting spied on. My camera's taking pictures for no reason. Supposedly to protect us from asteroids and extraterrestrial threats. But think about that. Like you said, they're already spraying crap. They already have all these 5G towers that interfere with our minds. And then on top of that, they want to build an actual physical barrier to our prison planet here.
Yeah, and that's what I see as it is. That's the matrix, the prison. I don't think we're computer programming. Yeah, just far away from that. But this is what I call the matrix. The programming they do in our minds here, putting the shield out, trying to disconnect us, interfering with our frequencies. And
recently I looked at the 5G grid layout that they put in cities, and if you look at the way they put them all in a certain spot, right, in a location on the ground, but then when they pump out this 5G, if you look at the map of the energy, it is the exact shape of the tree of life, the round thing with the cube in it, the ultimate sacred geometry, and it's like in reverse. So I don't think that that's an accident either.
That's not an accident, no. And they're using dark magic, black magic. Well, I don't like dark and white, but in this case, it's just pure black. And this is how you do magic. I mean, magic is nothing but using energy or symbols.
Yeah.
Or sigils.
Sigils, intent, yeah.
And that's what they did with the rune, with the favorite rune.
Yeah.
Can I say that because I'm German?
We're in America, and at least as far as I know today, we still have free speech, so we're allowed to debate things and talk about things. There may be some crybabies that decide to twist our words and try to say that we're something that we're not, which, that happens all the time if you bring up any subject. Supposedly, only the Discovery Channel and the Smithsonian and, Ancient Aliens are allowed to say Adolf in his last name. Anybody else on YouTube will get flagged by the algorithm and, put in a little bad boy box.
Yeah.
That's why I don't say people's names so much anymore, because they have it marked where they'll mark your channel if you say their name. The Matrix marks you down and knows that you're thinking about or talking about a certain subject.
Yeah, it's true though. Yeah, and here the rune, for example, well, it's actually not a rune. it's a symbol. It's a binding rune. So in the moment where you have a binding rune, it's like a sigil, actually, the same function. And we all know it's a Zovil rune, the sun rune, which stands for the sun, right? And the sun, we know can create life or can burn the shit out of you. And James didn't just write that. Sorry, I was reading the chat. So, and
who didn't kill himself? You know, that guy reminds me of, I know this has nothing to do with, is it Epstein or Epstein? Like Frankenstein or Frankenstein? I don't know.
Well, I, as a German, would say Epstein.
That's okay. That answers my question.
Interesting. There is a children's rhyme now where I say Epstein. There is a children's rhyme when you play hide and seek. When you count down and you hide, you know, you're counting down until then you have to say Epstein, Epstein. Everybody has to be hidden. That kind of creeped me out. I can never see that children's game with the same.
Ollie oxen free. Yeah.
It's like creepy. I just thought about it. Don't ask me why.
Well, that's weird because we're going to get into disappeared children in a minute.
Yeah. I just wanted to explain the rune.
All right. I'll shut up.
Yeah. Yeah, so just people understand why they were using it. And the rune itself or the sigil itself is not bad at all. It's just you use binding runes whenever you want to put a little more power into something, when you give it a little more, right?
Yeah.
And the way it was swirling to the left. So
are we talking about the swastika here?
We're talking about the swastika.
The thing that's in every single human race all over the planet was making this symbol.
Yes, that symbol. So they just reversed it. So on the left side is it influences organizations or whatever, or projects to fall. And what else I found interesting, which I researched, I didn't know that yet because I work different with runes, right? I don't go out to win a war here. So that's what, this is not from me, that's why I'm reading it. So in the Third Reich, she was known as the Victory Rune, right? So it works faithfully as a seal, as I said, with every binding rune, and can only be used as so, which is true. So it affects, its effect is limited exclusively to the sealing affirming. Nevertheless, it is a very valuable sign because it strengthens the forces of what is to be sealed. It may be placed under a contract, an agreement, a pact, or other agreement. So this, even its reinforcing effect also occurs when spoken only verbally on an agreement. And this I found very interesting. What agreement? What contracts? So besides that, it's a power rune and for victory and all, we know that. But I found the contract part very interesting. I didn't know that was the first time I heard about it. So that was...
And it's really strange that all of these people all over the world, and I mean all over the world, like from China to Native Americans to Jews, everywhere, in their old artwork, there is the swastika there, or what we call swastika now. And a good person that points that out is Robert Zephyr. Just about on every video, he'll show you like every single culture, Tibetan, I mean, on and on and on and on. They used this symbol, and it was always a positive, good fortune symbol.
Yeah, they found symbols in the Bronze Age in caves.
Yeah,
on stones. That's how old it is. They knew about the power of the sun, and we still need the sun, and that's why they're spraying out the shit out of us.
Yeah. Well, it's not just the sun, but also the universe.
Yeah,
or the galaxies.
Our source, whatever you want to call it. I don't even think the source is a certain person. It's the energy in general. For me, it's the universe. The source is the universe for me personally. That's how I see it. So there is no being, whatever. For me, it's the source is universe. And so therefore it's us, because we can do it. And that's why breathing is so important.
That, and if you don't do it, you'll die.
Yeah. But you absorb Vril in every kind if you so, but just to absorb it during meditation, yeah, it's really important. So, but we were talking, I was drifting off again here.
I'm sorry. We were talking about the rune and how they were starting to use that, and then we'll get into.
Yeah, no, that was pretty much it. I found that interesting. So, because you have to imagine, like, the rune is like 5 times as powerful. The way they constructed it, it's 5 times as powerful as a regular Zovilu rune. So we can be counting our blessings that they didn't add another one on top, because they thought maybe, hey, why not? Let's give it a try.
And you know, it's not just that they do this with. If you've ever looked at, speaking of NASA, you notice that in the NASA symbol, you got these pyramids, right? You got the arch, but also everything that they talk about in NASA always starts with an S and an S. Space shuttle, space station, and they always have that in their logos. But on top of that, they always put the black and white checkered for no reason. There's no real reason to do it, but they always put this symbol on every spacecraft, and you'll see it on all of the rocket launches. But they were already doing that in Germany. And then when the space program started here in the US, every rocket that goes up has this little black and white square, a checker pattern for the Freemasons.
Yeah.
And you see that on the royal floor in the palace. And if you pay attention to any of the elites, oftentimes the floor will either have a 4-sided star, like over and over again on each tile, or they'll have a black and white checkered, staggered floor.
I was just saying that. And all the frill symbols that they're all just like a little changed of the Freemasons.
Yes.
So that is just a cover name for me, because that all ended up, as we know, into a big shit show, going political power, and was all supported by, can I say that?
Yeah.
By who was supported?
Who financed the power? Yes. And most of the people watching know that if you get into
the Rothschild mafia financed the UFO projects, the buildings, and everything in Germany. They also.
Well, I know you're not supposed to say stuff about Zionism, because Zionism's this one thing, but it is ironic, if you don't believe in connections and you think things are just random, that a pair of Jewish brothers were the main financiers on both sides of World War II. So over here in America, you had a Warburg brother. And then over in Germany, you also had a Warburg brother. And the only commonality that almost all of these from the Rothschilds is they're all the banking people. And it goes back to that thing. How do you get every single person on earth to focus their energy on something? Well, they've done it. It's money. It's coins and dollar bills and credit cards. But everybody, rich or poor, is concentrating on the bank's power that they let you have. Because think about it. They don't need money. They make it. They literally print it. They don't need it. They own almost everything in the world. So they use it to make you fight over it. And you do all of these weird things so that they can gather your energy up.
Yeah, make you not make enough money and shit. So you're forced to, I don't know, to use a credit card.
And there comes that contract. Now you're in debt to this image or this idea.
Yeah.
When you don't even have the physical part of it, you can borrow it. But anyway, let's get back to the Vril. Let's get back into. And how do you say this woman's name? Because I kept watching documentaries and they were saying it. I'm reading Orsic is Orsic, but how would you say her name?
I would say Orsic.
Orsic, yeah, that's what they were saying. Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean. She supposedly was one of the mediums getting information, but I think she was just brought in to catch other young girls with the real.
Yeah, to make it popular.
To fish them,
Yeah.
put in and get them into the whole picture for their dirty black magic business.
She was like, back in the day, there was Eckhart and Orsich instead of Epstein and Maxwell. Because Epstein had Maxwell that would go hunt down these young girls and then bring them into the circle and make them think it was cool. You're going to have money. You're going to have nice clothes. You're going to be so beautiful.
Do what you can do with your power. And so they were probably even told to do something good, like talking about Atlantis and that they want this.
So do you think she was a real person, this Orsich, like that was her name and her story was a real thing, or do you think it was a fiction? Because I found it weird that she supposedly was born on October 31st and then also supposed to be a medium. And, so to me, that just is like, really? Like, that's a little coincidental. You're born on what people celebrate as All Hallows Eve. And you're supposed to be a medium.
In my opinion, without any research, from my feeling, I think she existed, but she wasn't a medium or anything else. She was just there to.
So you think it was a real person, but a fake persona?
Yeah, fake persona, just to catch those poor little girls, those thousands of girls, not just the 7 that most people talk about, because of the other thousands, you don't find rarely anything anymore.
Yeah, from what I was looking at, there was hundreds, if not thousands, of girls.
You need a certain number in order to do a dirty ritual.
So tell us about this Eckhart guy that kind of started this thing. And if you guys don't know, there was a book called The Coming Race, in which they took a lot of information and made it, I don't know, it's a lot like how Hitler took the idea of the Norsemen and the Viking, and they showed this big buff white blonde dude, and then they slapped the Aryan term on it, and then they made this concept that wasn't really what it was. They just took a little from this and a little from this, and then there's your propaganda for everybody, which always was. I wondered why the German people fell for it when Adolf himself was dark-haired, dark-eyed, and had a history that you could track. I mean, like, so. It's surprising to me, like, and then and Goebbels too. Goebbels had what? He had a misformed foot. He was actually like he had birth defects, but yet they were trying to say that we needed to get rid of people that had any problems. But like the top of the top were it's almost exactly like in America today, where you have the Democrats and leftists calling everybody racist, and then when you look into their history, they're the most racist people that there is. It's like they always blame what they're doing or whatever on other people, while they hide the fact that that's exactly what they are.
Yeah, and that's nothing what happened here. Our Guido from List here, he wrote a book, and he announced that he knew already that the Germans will be racist and against Jews, right? Like, he knew it already magically.
Yeah, before everybody started, before the propaganda started going around.
Yeah, so he actually wrote a book about it, and he called himself an Armenian priest, one of the last, and he was into the occult himself, but yet he called out, that he knew about the Jew conspiracy, that they're all trying to go against them. But yet It was one of the instigator, and after that, more and more people got into the picture here. Sorry, I gotta look my notes because there's so many names I can't remember them all.
Right. So the reason I asked you about Eckhart is because he's the guy that was really pumped about this book, The Coming Race. And if you don't know what that book is, it was about a subterranean people that were very powerful, that had almost like a liquid energy about them that they could tap into, and they named in the book what they were called the Vril, and they were like these weird people that had power, and they could come up to the surface and destroy mankind at any time, according to the book. But Eckhart himself had a secret name, and we were talking about that before the show, that the group, they're the Thule or Tool. How do you say that?
I say Tool.
Because I always called it the Thule, but now I know you're not supposed to use H's in anything. So
Tool, they're not a German Tool. Tool.
He's a tool.
Tool.
All right, but anyway, this guy Eckhart, amongst his inner circle, they secretly called him John the Baptist. And if you know the Bible, John the Baptist is the guy that made way for the Messiah to come. And then, so there we go.
Yeah, which is interesting. Where is my... God, those are all political notes. I don't want to get into the political stuff, really.
Well, any of this stuff isn't really that political. It's just history. I mean, you can go back and look it up yourself. Like I said, for some reason, the Discovery Channel and the Smithsonian Channel and everybody else is allowed to talk about it all they want, but...
Yeah, not me.
You should change your name to Hernandez. Don't have that problem anymore.
Checking on your Hermina. No, but it is interesting how here our Guido van List, then he brought in others, and they weren't all like Jewish, really. So, and our friend Eckhart, he was like big time into the occult as well, right? And he traveled and he was all into that, and he pretended all to be not as famous, and that he became a friend of Adolf.
Yeah. He was actually the person supposedly that actually taught him how to use his charisma for speeches and the public.
Yeah, because he knew everything, even the way I can't really do that now, right? Because but that symbol,
yeah,
that is actually aligned to certain chakras in your body. It sends out energies. It's certain runes, and yeah, it's all for a purpose. The way he stands, how he puts his hand out, and on the side of his body, it's like all to send and receive information, to send out. It's all about control. It's all planned into the tiniest little detail.
Yeah, and this guy Eckhart was supposedly very versed in Hindu lore and mudras. And if you notice,
to the Turkey as well.
Yeah. And if you noticed in recent times here, and they've been trying to say that the OK symbol is bad and it's racist.
Oh, yeah.
But if you go look at the Buddhist temples in Tibet and everywhere, they're doing this mudra.
Here, right? They're sitting like...
Yes, because it's a mudra, and one of them means spirit, and one of them means air, and this is your connection to it. So it is weird how they hijack these things, and then, well, that guy did it, and he used it, so we can't do that no more. That's ruined.
A friend of mine was kicked out of he was swimming with his son and his wife, and he got actually kicked out of the bathing stadium because he had runes on his arms. And it wasn't even the Swastika. It was runes, regular runes.
Like the ones on the stones and stuff like that, like.
Yeah, regular runes, and he got kicked. They had a meaning for him, of course, but he got kicked out. He had to leave.
Why would that doesn't even make sense? Because most of the runes are, as everybody knows, are way older than anything that has anything to do with that era. I mean, these are Norse and way back, and other people, Germanic people from antiquity.
But again, the Vril Society and all of them, they knew about their power as well. They know about the energies those symbols are sending out or receiving, depending on, right? And same with your body. And you can use them to 24 points in your body of the spine. I'm just talking about that. I'm trying to get them all in. But and that's what I mean. Eckhart knew how to position him with his, right? And his hand. There is totally purpose. And the way he speaks and what he says, they have spells. And if you ever listen to a speech of him, if you just close your eyes, don't even look at him, but listen, it's black magic.
Yeah, it's very rhythmic and melody. Yeah. It has a melody to it. It's the same thing that politicians do today, like Barack Obama or anybody. And if you've noticed, they all do this weird speech pattern, and they reuse words. There's I forgot what the term is, but they'll use the same word over and over again, a repetitive thing in different sentences. Is because they're doing it so many times, and a number of times, I would add. And now we have AI writing these speeches. So, and the AI, if you really think about where AI is coming from, they're going down to the subatomic level, down to below the atom, and they're receiving information from the energy field the same way that the Vril believed the Orgon power or the Vril power, the same exact thing as Tesla or any of them believed that you could tap into this information. And now we have machines doing it. And it's weird that you brought up that this kind of started with a machine and to make socks of all things, but still it was like the introduction of having a machine decide your repetition, and that turns that into a ritual, right? If you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, it's ritualistic.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a stupid sock machine, but that's how it started. I mean, you got to break in the herd slowly, right? You cannot just present them a computer. So let's break them in slowly, Let them some socks on the machine and see how it goes, and then from there. So but Eckhart, like he knew exactly what Hitler had to say, or Adolf had to say. Sorry, now I said it. What he had to say, how he had to stand, what he had to do. He was so into the occult, he knew it exactly. And I mean, not overnight. So for me, it was all prepared into detail. Same with the symbols. And before the Vril, it was a Brotherhood of Light. It was the Templars. It was, the Freemasons. So they just changed the symbols, like I said.
Yeah, so, Eckhart and what's his name, Dundorf or what? I'm so bad with some of these names, but
yeah, me too.
Almost all of them were Freemasons.
It is
that had anything to do with that. Michael Fitzgerald and all of these people were really into sex magic.
That's another one, and that's what you can use the Victory Rune as well. It's usually in a good term. You can, light up the fire a bit and, bring a little pep into your relationship, to say, in your sexual energy. But therefore, I mean, now you know, right? And that's why I find it so interesting with the runes, that they got so into runes. It makes sense why.
One thing that was really weird to me is that the more I was reading into Eckhart and the whole little group before they kind of turned into the Vril Society, is they have so many commonalities with the things that Albert Pike wrote about and the things that Aleister Crowley wrote about, and some of the sigils, the sex magic. And then when you find out that sometime before they really came to power, there were a bunch of orphan kids after World War I wandering around, and there weren't people that would actually report them gone because they didn't really have families. And a lot of these kids would disappear. They would just disappear. And most of them were girls. And when I was reading into that, so the Vril believed that the most powerful Vril energy is in a child.
A child or virgin.
Yeah, and that's weird how close that word is too. Vril, virgin. And I keep finding that.
Virgin. So, yeah, I mean, look at a virgin in this terms. She's free. She hasn't interrupted her kundalini, her sex energy with any, and whatever. And children, they're pure in their energy. They're not, their mind is clear. They're not disturbed, interrupted from the information flow. The energy is pure. They still have the knowledge in them, the knowledge that we forget about the older we get, which they want us to forget, right?
Oh, that's another point. I forgot about that. That was one of the points that they had made about that, is that they thought the reason that the energy was so strong with children is because they were closer to the source of energy and less tainted by, propaganda and ideas given to them by adults. I forgot about that. That was a thing that they were talking about too, was that their energy is so strong because they're closer to source than adults are. We've kind of like, how things get old and they break down and they get dirty and tarnished and stuff. The child's energy is like a brand new shiny coin, at first. And then you think about adults and everybody else, and you get the coin that's all got the tarnish on it and it's old. And that's a very good point there. So
yeah, that's what I mean.
The same thing with all the stories about the virgin sacrifices and all that.
Yeah, that's what it's there, because they're really pure. They're pure in their kundalini, in the sixth energy. I mean, that's why it's not so, it's a little off topic, but to screw around to say, because, or watching porn 24/7, because you're really giving away that energy, and that's what porn is for, right? In my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not judging anyone that watches a porn, don't get me wrong, but
me neither. But I would like to invite every single one of you to do a small bit of investigation and find out who owns the majority of all the porn companies.
Yeah, take a deep guess. I mean, not too deep.
No, but in science, actually, they've proven that too, that porn leads to erectile dysfunction in men, because the way that nature's supposed to work is when you're apart from your mate, you think about them, and, you have your own energy built up in your head, and you build up this energy, and then you go to your mate and you release that energy. But for porn, it gives instant gratification. So every day you're getting a flood of dopamine and all of these other chemicals to your mind. So when it comes time to actually be with a real person, you have none of this energy left.
No, and your
it's gone.
You've used it. Your strongest energy really down there in the kundalini, in the snake, to call. Woo! I mean, I don't have a snake. Right. I really don't. I'm real.
No, I know that the serpent has always been a representation of your entire chakra line.
Yeah, but
anything to do with your genitals.
Out, if you constantly jerk off on porn or just screw around with whoever, your energy goes just poof, and I mean into the nowhere, to where
you can think about that in other ways too, is what you were saying about how you're supposed to be pure before you get married, or the concept is because you save all that energy up for this ceremony with the mate, and then if you're fooling around and I can't say I'm not guilty, like most of people in Western society are guilty of I don't know what you call that, I forgot the word for it, doing it before you're married or whatever. Yeah,
I mean, because if men and women, like you hit each other's energy spots. I know that's like now for grown-ups here, but you hit each other's deepest spots of this. You hit the button of that energy release.
Yeah.
Like an on and off button. I'm not talking about the orgasm now, but I'm talking about really the points in your body. It's not a joke. And like I said, and if you just like, whatever, porn or other.
I heard a Hindu guy talk about it, like the whole thing behind Tantra too is like to put the energy in the serpent, but the whole point is to never end it. You're not supposed to eat the apple. You're not supposed to take a bite at the end. You're supposed to build the energy up and keep it. And like in ancient Chinese beliefs, they wouldn't even let a woman, unless they were, trying to procreate and have children, they'd never let the woman have their essence, because they believed that the woman would steal it from them, like their energy. So they already had a concept of that like 5,000 to 10,000 years ago, that there was an energy transfer. And then you get into these occult groups, and it seems to be their only goal is to steal energy, and especially children's energy. And that's why you see like Disney and all of these people putting these images out to these children and to the adults. And it's all about stealing your energy, all of it.
It is. And I mean, and think about just another one, the collecting the energy. I mean, what about our so-called church and priests that are not allowed to, I mean, they build up energy for their
Yeah, they're
dark
supposed to be saving that for the Almighty or whatever, but
my ass, but
we all kind of know that a bunch of that is just another occult group and another mechanism to feed the machine.
Yeah, that's what it is. And yeah, and that's what I mean. I mean, especially with those poor kids, right? That's why they feed off them.
And so the Vril, whether they were based on, I mean, they were based on a lot of real, what do you call it, metaphysical ideas. And then they latched onto this book that had these concepts in it. And then they kind of made this, I guess that's where, why we call it a cult, because they made a cult. And then that cult spread all the way into this giant machine of destruction. And if you don't believe that there was no, any truth to this, it obviously had a lot of truth to these ceremonies, these occult things that they were practicing, because you can see it happen in the real world. They grew into this giant thing, and then they got a lot of rich and powerful people to finance it who were also into those occult ideas. I mean, you can name any one of these people, from the Bushes to the Warburgs to the Rothschilds, all of the people that put money, effort, and don't forget the royal family. The royal family had a big part in it. And all of them believe in these Masonic, in the dark side of Mason, because it's the same thing with everything. There's Freemasons that are not into darkness. And then there's a group that are totally about it. And it's the same thing with like anything. And I'm sure there's some good priests out there that really believe in everything and they're not perverts. I'm not saying the whole thing is, but everything is dualism. And they're using the same practices and the same philosophies because they must be real, or they wouldn't be able to persuade so many people to do these things.
Yeah, and they know about the tricks, right? They know how to, and that's what they want to hide from us. I mean, and look here, the Rothschilds, I mean, it's not only the real and the energy and the machines, it's also, I mentioned it in one of mine, the whole chemtrail thing that started back too in Germany with building cartridges for coal mines, for example. Right. They started to make the air fresher. So there was a good purpose behind that. But then all the other American companies got involved over the course of years, of course, right? It ended up General Electric, TEPCO, all got involved. And now look at us here. And same here with Vril, with the UFOs.
I was just about to say, let's get into that. And remember, when you were talking about that sock machine, if you guys remember, IBM is the people that came up with the numeric system to keep track of people in the concentration camps. Now, a lot of people don't want to talk about that because over in America, IBM became the first real computer mega company making machines to take your, to show you things, but also to take your energy. And if anybody's ever worked in an office situation, especially from 80s to 2000, everything was about IBM. There was IBM IBM and Apple. Yeah. And the Apple logo is the proverbial apple from the Garden of Eden that they took a bite out of. That's why it's on there with a bite taken out of it. So these two companies had people sitting in perfectly mathematical cubicles, right? And they would sit there all day and give their energy to this machine while they did work and toiled, almost just like what you said about the sock machine, that they had to give it some kind of entertainment value to make people still want to do it.
Yeah, but between they throw in a little entertainment. I mean, look at movie theaters, the big ones. Look at them, how they are built on top, like if you get a catch. Look how they're built. Look exactly where they are located. This is nothing but big, big energy robbers.
Well,
those theaters.
Speaking of that, and you were talking about the churches being that where they focus the energy too. It's not just that. It's sports stadiums.
Sports stadiums.
Baseball, especially. was created by a guy named Diamond Doubleday, who was into what they called magic numbers. And he was a good friend of Blavatsky. And if you know about the baseball game, everything has to do with 3, 6, 9. And everything is a big giant sigil where you get lots of people to focus their energy down on the mound, which is the pitcher's mound. And there's always 9 players, and there's 9 ways to get home. And everything about the entire thing is just one big numerical sigil. And he was definitely into the occult. And he was a big member of the OTO. And then, you know, where that goes later in life, you know, you got Manson and all of these other people that were involved in that.
I mean, that's the same.
That was a really good point about that, about the focusing at the churches, because the Vatican's exactly like that. And if you really look, take the time to Google it, the Pope sits in the center of the serpent's mouth between the fangs, and the entire congregation that comes in there is sitting in the serpent's head in its mouth.
Literally.
And then they have that red carpet, which is its tongue that goes down the middle.
Yeah, but you really got to look and pay attention, and you got to listen to certain things.
And they do that same thing, what you were talking about like the Hitlers, when you go there and you hear Latin, they're always speaking in Latin. And there's a reason for that, is because the way the words are formed is they compare that to logos, the word of God. And it's all it's like you were saying, it's a big spell. That's what it is. It's there to put you in a trance. You know, they're like, oh, no, 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 no.
The organs there, you know, the organs, yeah. They bring up the frequency of whatever they do.
That's
they
exactly
use
right.
Instance, the smudging, you know, that clears.
Yeah, they do that too.
So they really make you open for all that bullshit.
And then you have to go up to the front and eat the corpse, and you drink the blood and simulate it.
Right. Awesome. I'm in. Not. So.
And then volunteer your kids over to be altar boys, and you know.
Yeah, of course. That's a must, because they have the purest of energy, don't they? And that's why I feel so bad that all those.
All right, let's quit picking on the church and move over to the technological UFOs and stuff like that.
I ever started on the church? Sorry.
Oh, well, it's also interconnected. I don't see how you could talk about one thing without the other.
No, it is connected. That's what I mean. It goes so deep, and I never wanted to open the box of worms with the Vril, but Jeremy made me, if you watch it. And stuff.
Yeah, so, and then even a lot of people forget that the Vaticans, who helped almost all of the people that were in the Nuremberg trials, escape. And one of the top dogs SS main submarines showed up in Argentina and had a weird story about being in Antarctica right around the time of Operation High Jump and all of that. So I thought you probably know a lot about that, and I'll let you get into it, because you even asked me, can I bring up the UFOs? And a thing I was watching was showing me a bunch of Vril drawings that they got out of their meditation. And a lot of those were designs to technology that they invented right afterwards, including the UFO type craft. That's also something that they drew on paper first.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have screenshots or pictures now, but and I can't give you all the models and everything. I really would have to need. Do I have pictures here? Well, I can't get into the technical stuff because I'm not an engineer.
10-4, Roger. We got her. We know the address. She has contraband at her house. Verified. No, I'm gonna go check the chat while you organize yourself there.
So.
Well, somebody didn't like us, but thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. I know you're still watching, and thank you. Thanks for giving us your energy tonight. I'm just kidding. But we have positive energy, and we're just talking about, or at least the reason I talk about this stuff is because I think the more that you're aware, the easier it is to maneuver around it and deflect it.
I mean, what I find interesting that they have also not just the Haunebu, you know, the number 1, but they also had the V7. The number 7 popped in my eye. You know, again, they had different numbers. for all the projects, certain numbers, which I found interesting. So, and I mean, the so-called information that they channeled the real ladies from the Aldebaran people, that they were given to help build them, to make it better and easier for them. They were indestructible. They didn't need any fuel or anything. So actually pretty much like Vril. It's not, you can't destroy real energy. You can't destroy.
Well, yeah. Energy itself is a fundamental law of physics that energy can never be destroyed. It's only transformed into another form. Yeah, you guys watch Transformers, you know.
Shh, don't tell everyone. I like Bumblebee. So yeah, so they had many projects. The first project failed, and then they had some other coming. So the RFZ7, they had the V7, and so, and actually what they were trying as well was to time travel. They wanted to be able, yeah, like, you know, beamers, just beam over there with a pure thought in that machine, just like, boom, you know.
There's a lot of people that think that happened.
Yeah, supposedly Maria was one of them that disappeared with, what was her name? The other medium that was never ever talked about. Sigrun was her name. She was a young girl. She must have been very young, about 18. So she was very quiet, very young, and I'm thinking that she might have been a real medium because of her age, because she was 18. She was young, she was quiet. She was brought in when they were having their... Who's texting? Wasn't me.
I thought I turned that down like 4 times this whole time, and then I'm like, they won't leave me alone.
Yeah, she was brought into the Four Seasons hotel where they were all meeting, right? The Vril Society, when they had their little meetings in Bavaria. And
which actually, are you talking about the house that they met at, that they started the Vril in?
Yeah.
Because that actually turned into Adolf's retreat. He picked that exact place to go and hang out at.
Yeah, exactly. Coincidence. So yeah, and that's where they all met, and that's where he introduced the real energy, that he found a medium. I mean, it's never said where that poor girl appeared off. I think she was probably maybe an orphan too, because she was young too.
Yeah.
No, it was not Greta.
Oh, and my mistake, when I kept saying Michael Fitzgerald, I put the notes in the wrong place. Michael Fitzgerald is actually a guy that was one of the last people to talk to some of the SS and people that he claimed he had firsthand knowledge of the Vril, and he's actually where a lot of people know about some of the places, and he talked a lot about how they did the child sacrifice and to harness their energy and all this stuff. So excuse me, I made a mistake on that name. He's not one of the real people. He's a guy that supposedly talked to them after World War II. And he took a blood oath, he says, to not say anything about it. But then he said they all died so he could share it with us, you know, because...
Yeah, the thing is, they all took a blood oath to take their own life in case information is being forced out. So... which is, again, for me, another just ritual.
You ever wonder why people kill people if they don't want secrets to get out? Because if you think about all the concept of this information field, you would think that once you killed these people, all your secrets that you did to that person are now in the information field. It went back to it, and now someone else could tap into that and know everything about you and all the dirty deeds you've done.
Yeah, because the energy is out there. It just poof. Yeah, and who started that with the UFOs? Yeah, Victor Schauberger. He was invited by Adolf to the Vril and Tool Society. And that's when the first UFO was born, supposedly, you know.
And you were talking about how they could travel and that they were into like kind of going from one place to another using some of this information. You know about the bell, I'm assuming. So a lot of people believe that the bell actually disappeared in Germany and appeared over in, I think it was Pennsylvania.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and there were many UFO crashes back then, but they all got like, oh no, you're crazy, there are no UFOs. So, and I mean, going back to the States, Area 51, and I mean, they can't hide it anymore. So, but
and that actually right there goes back to the book about the coming race, because in that book, like I said, they talk about a subterranean race of people that are highly technological and have this energy down. And you know that Operation Paperclip brought a lot of Nazis over to the United States, but what a lot of people don't know is that there were a bunch of German scientists already here working with the United States. And when they came over, they went to places like Los Alamos, Dulce, Nellis, Area 51. And if you think about Area 51, it's another 3 number. It's 2 3s. It's 5 plus 1 is 6. And we all know 6 is 2 3s. So none of these things are on accident.
No, they are not. So.
And actually, I've always wondered, is Holloman a German name?
Holloman?
Because that's the name of the base here, but it's like an awkward name in a Hispanic area. So I always wondered why they named this base Holloman. And it's also the place where the German Air Force today still practices. Like over here at the base, that's where they train them.
Hollo?
HOLLOMAN, yeah.
Not that I know.
Holloman.
Doesn't sound German to me.
No?
No.
Maybe it's Hollow's Eve. No, I'm just joking. No, I always wondered where that name come from, because it's like nothing here is named that, but it's got a weird name, and that's that they have a German school.
But Hollow could come from Hollow Earth, right? Because they also discovered.
And we were talking about the subterranean stuff, right? Yeah. And I know that they have that out here. Bunkers, underground facilities, and allegedly, I don't know if this for a fact, but the Air Force is the only one that made the giant tunneling devices that's in public knowledge. And supposedly there is an underground tunnel that goes from here to Los Alamos to Dulce and then to Denver, Colorado, and to the other way to the Area 51, and then east all the way over to Kansas City, where they keep the archives of all the old movies. All of our historical documents is all in a limestone underground thing, supposed to protect it for some future generation.
Sure.
Right? And then, if I bet a bunch of you guys know about the Adam and Eve story that was classified, and it talks a lot about underground stuff and how the ocean's going to come over and that they'll have to restart.
I mean, supposedly they found out in the Antarctica when they had the expedition there that the Earth is hollow. Yeah. And most of the crew members, including the leader, which I would have to look for the name. I apologize. I'm trouble with name. They all got back a little cuckoo, and most of them had to go into treatment because they couldn't kind of handle what they saw.
Yeah, that's Operation High Jump, and allegedly, according to, or at least according to the Russians, right? The United States went down there chasing to find out where some of the Nazis disappeared to. And that's why I kind of brought that up, that one of the U-boats submarines showed up in Argentina with some of the highest of the SS party on board, and they wouldn't tell anybody what they did. But the only thing that they talked about is that they had come from Antarctica. About the same time, not too long after, they had this Operation High Jump, in which allegedly UFOs came out of underneath the ice, marked with German symbols and runes on them. And they made them retreat. And when General Byrd came back, he talked about Hollow Earth and how there were Nazis in the ice and how they had access to UFOs and they had subterranean bases. And, you know, you can all take that with a grain of salt, because none of us will ever get to go to Antarctica and check it out.
No, because
it's like the only place on Earth you can't go, and all the nations agree it.
Far more than we know. There is far more going on than just ice, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What else? I found something interesting here. Let me find it so I can read it because that was interesting. Was it here or was it no? I can't remember anymore. Shit. Meow.
Hey, we're busy. Go away.
Yeah, I don't get it all together now, but that when they came back, they also found they were talking about places where were of drinking water, like sweet water, right? How we call it, drinking water. They were talking about green areas and everything. So, I mean, who says that our elite, the Rothschilds and whoever is directing them, that there is more than we know? I mean, more than just ice.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm not talking flat Earth. I'm so not a flat earthy, right? I don't believe after the ice we fall all down because I would just push.
Well, actually, there's just a big theory that once you get past that ice, there's just a whole big planet that we don't get access to, that there's another ocean on the other side of the ice barrier and more land masses where other people live there's a bunch of different theories about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they talked about when they came back, right? But most of the books disappeared and the people had to go and get some help, mental help, because they couldn't handle what they saw. I mean, just imagine you see another world behind the ice. I mean, I would come back and...
Or even the part about supposedly, they thought like all the sailors and stuff would have thought, hey, we won World War II, that's over. And then they show up and there's all this stuff. And supposedly UFOs and, flying machines that they'd never seen before. So that would totally whack out anybody if that was true and they did see that. And according to the Russians, all of that totally happened.
And who knows, maybe those tunnels or hollow is just a tunnel going there, I mean, so you don't have to step over the ice. I mean, that's just a crazy theory of mine. It's not proven. It's just something,
Well, Max there in the audience
was Britain everywhere, tunnels everywhere.
Max was talking about they were remote viewing that the Operation High Jump, which is weird because we're like people now are trying to remote view people that remote viewed in the past. Like a lot of what the Vril did for the SS supposedly was sit around and try to remote view in their own way, like literally find out what the Americans were doing over there. But I doubt that there was even a conflict in the way that we think it was. In my opinion, the tops of the governments weren't at war.
Got all together.
They were just getting rid of people, and they were causing a mass blood sacrifice from all around the world to China and Japan and all of that. There was stuff going on, but at the same time, we were rebuilding the technology to the next level, and we needed an excuse to snap people out of the old world and into the new world. And then I think that's exactly what we're doing now. Again,
it's
just kind of undercover.
The big wipeout comes. I mean, if you think about Atlantis, I'm sure there were civilizations like that. I just don't feel, from my point of view, that it was here on Earth. I think it was a different planet that fucked it up.
Yeah, maybe so.
No?
Well, that's a lot of what the Vril said, right? Is that they were seeing other planets with stuff, and that some of those people there were partially responsible for the creation of human beings.
Yeah, and I'm thinking some of them just had the luck to rescue themselves here, and here they are spreading the knowledge again, and we're about to fuck it up again.
Well, I want to know, like, what's his name said, the president, I'm having a brain fart on which president it was, but he said there was a power so pervasive somewhere, so big, so pervasive, that even the most powerful men better speak under their breath if they say anything bad about it or speak in condemnation of it. And I always wondered, what exactly was he talking about? Because when you look at these plans that go through hundreds of years, it's hard for me to believe that father, son, father, son, father, son are keeping a plan going for hundreds and hundreds of years, a singular plan in a certain direction, because you know how families, they don't like their parents and they want to be opposite to them. And it's hard for me to believe that that all of this stuff keeps happening in a direction where people thousands or hundreds of years ago knew that things would unfold in exactly a certain way, which means to me that there's something on top of the pyramid, so to speak, that is not human. And I don't think it's a spirit either.
Our Rothschilds and whoever that think they're the big, I mean, okay, they rule that here. But I'm thinking, as you said, on top of them, and there's something behind it. And that is probably feeding from all of that energy getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Talking about you want to take over the world, I think that whatever it is wants to take on the universe. So,
yeah, but if you actually fed off of negativity, say an energy,
I mean,
why wouldn't you want everybody fighting? And you would go over here and say, no, I'll help you. And then later, I'll help you, to make sure that there's a never-ending dualism of conflict that will never end.
Something is feeding off it.
Yeah, and it don't taste like cheeseburgers, folks. Anyway, I'd love to get you back on, and I'll try to make a more coherent show next time, because we kind of did this on the spur of the moment from yesterday. We decided to do it. So if you want to come back on, and we'll get back into this, and maybe next time we can let Anja join.
Yeah.
She was sick, so she wanted to kind of hang out, but she didn't feel good tonight.
I know, poor Anna. Feel better. Yeah, then more maybe. But as I said, it's so deep, it's so big, you cannot finish it all in 1 hour. It's not possible.
No way.
It's just a network of craziness.
I've been actually getting, for the past week, I've been giving myself a beyond college education on human beings, all the way back from pre-Neanderthal all the way up to Clovis people, and considering the Solutrean hypothesis, which a lot of people are fighting. And I'm going to do a show soon, and I'll show you that it seems more likely than not that in North America, people came from everywhere. And for whatever reason or not, they died out, and then more people came, and then they died out, and more people came. But it's this weird cyclical thing of death, destruction, and rebirth with new people every time. And then people want to split hairs on, who's here first and who's here next. That doesn't even matter. It's amazing that people made it here in the first place way back then. Much less because there's a lot of PC is the reason that you're not allowed to have new theories, because God forbid some Europeans came over here 20,000 years ago or something. I don't know why that's such a stigma, but even the Smithsonian, all of them are starting to come around to the concept that the evidence is there, that some of the technologies in North America and the concentration of them on the East Coast means that somebody from Europe or the Iberian Peninsula, where they found the other tools exactly like that, they came over here, and that's why there's a lot of these symbols in Native American history that match the Iberian Peninsula and Paleolithic Europe. They have the same symbols, including the swastika and a number of other things.
Yeah, you find them everywhere. And
anyway,
wondering if that thing, whatever it is, just doesn't press the reset button when we get too close to the truth and we start all over again, like a computer game.
I think if you want to get technical, I think if you look at LA and San Francisco and Los Angeles juice in California, literally the earth is like a toilet, and I'm waiting for somebody to just flush it.
Yeah, and I'm thinking this happened before and it might happen again.
It's starting to get stinky here on Earth. I don't know. They need to refresh the air or something. I'm just kidding. But anyway, thanks for coming on, Anja.
Well, thank you.
And we'll get you back on and we'll have another good discussion about stuff. I know we're kind of all over the place, but I'm pretty confident most of the people that watch both of our channels are crazy enough and random enough to follow what we're talking about.
To hop around with us.
Yeah, right? All right, so I'm going to end the stream and see you guys later for 420 TV. I'm going to be back later, kind of late for late night news, so I'll see you then.
Bye.